Alrighty, thank you all for joining us for the June 9th Central Ohio African American Chamber of Commerce membership meeting. My name is Avery Frost, Executive Director. Today we have a decent amount to cover, but of course, it kind of got reframed given what's been going on since our last meeting. So we're gonna flip the order. Typically we do our updates after breaking news or what have you, but we're gonna do just an overview of upcoming events to make sure we get it in. Some things I know people are wondering about, like the fundraiser and the other activities that we have been discussing as of the last meeting. So I want to make sure that we bring everyone up to speed, and then we'll dig into what's been going on all around the country in relation to George Floyd and all of the other people who lost their lives at the hand of the police. And then we'll open it up for updates from the floor. So if you have anything to share with the group, it'll happen after we go through these points. All right, so everyone, if you are not speaking, please make sure that you mute. But obviously, if you have something to say, just unmute yourself so that you can chat with the group. The first upcoming event that I wanted to make sure we told you about was our third Out With Elected Officials event. And this will be virtual instead of our typical face-to-face, because obviously we can't have the kind of group networking that we had done in the past. Mom, what time is this at on the 25th?
5:30.
Cool. And I believe details and registration will be following via email. Can you give and I think I saw Zuline was coming in.
Yeah, she's still connecting.
Okay.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So just because it's virtual, we're going to do it a little bit different. We'll start with the general greetings and all of the stuff that typically happens from the podium. And then we will split participants up into as many as 10 rooms. And we will rotate elected officials through those rooms. And so we'll have facilitators in each of the rooms. The elected officials will know how long they can be there to take questions. But all the facilitator will do will just be kind of traffic cop, if you will. We're not gonna limit the kinds of discussion or the kinds of questions that happen in each room. So rather than 100 of us walking up to this elected official or that, we'll gather with them in these rooms. And then at the end, we will come back together for close, next steps. Hopefully at that point, we'll have the date for our candidates forum, which will happen in the fall.
Cool, thank you. And
You're
so
welcome.
This event, as usual, is in partnership with the Diversity Chamber of Central Ohio. And I believe we have offered, extended the invitation or are extending the invitations to the Asian American Commerce Group and the Hispanic Chamber for Central Ohio.
Yes.
So that we have a good mix of business owners that will be present, but also same thing as we've done in the years past, a good group of elected officials and those seeking office who will be there to answer questions. And I'm sure that we all have lots of questions of these folks right about now. Zuline, I saw that you just came in. Was there anything that you wanted to add about the Out With?
No, I think Jill went ahead and covered everything in terms of what the format is. And some of the participants I can add and say that Nava will be participating as well. So there'll be a collaborator. We're looking at getting the Matriot and then the Columbus Women's Business Commission. So those are some additional ones.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Yep. So all members, everyone on here, make sure you just keep an eye out. We will make sure that we share this information as soon as the registration link is available. We'll share it on social media, through our emails, and through all of our channels. All righty. Next up, I want to tell you about an event. Okay, I want to tell you all about an event that we just found out I kind of knew about it because of some committee calls, but the Franklin County Commissioners are hosting listening sessions for small businesses. And so what you have on your screen is an overview of what they're kind of hoping to hear. So they're hoping to hear from business owners, but also they're hoping to share information from an economist and the commissioners themselves about what you can expect, kind of as best as we can forecast these things, and what's coming from the county itself as far as business is concerned. And so the first one is actually tomorrow, where they'll be thinking about neighborhood level retail establishments. And that's at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Then we have on June 17th, it's focused on women's business owners. And I'll be on there chatting about what we've heard from the women business owners that we interact with and have done surveys with. And then have the owners themselves. And then on June 24th, it's talking about local supply chain. I'm not sure what they are meaning specifically for that, but you're more than welcome to log on. The Zoom ID is there and password. Screenshot this and or just shoot me a message if you want to get this information. But we will be sharing this PowerPoint and the recording of the Zoom tomorrow morning in your emails. So I wanted to make sure that I added that in. And then, let's see, back to you, Jill.
Thank you, Avery. So Juneteenth is coming up, and one of the things that COAC is doing, we are partnering with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. They are nationally doing a Buy Black weekend, June 18 through 21. And they are encouraging us to go out, be super intentional about shopping with Black stores, restaurants, and the like. And then they're also asking people to take a picture of the establishment, take a picture of yourself with the owner, take a shot of your receipt, whatever, and share it on social media so we can kind of get some traction around our spend with Black-owned businesses. And of course, you should be spending with Black-owned businesses every day, but we're making a special push for Juneteenth, which, as you know, is celebration or recognition of when the last of the enslaved Americans were notified that freedom done come, or free-ish done come. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that synopsis. But yeah, I think this year we'll see a lot of activity around Juneteenth. And so I'm happy that COAC is participating in our way and encouraging people to buy Black. And we're getting more into getting closer to the gist of what we're talking about today, which is all of the energy that's been coming off of the unrest. And so we've had a lot of new directory listing entry requests, as well as just a lot of people reaching out for all sorts of reasons to find Black-owned businesses. And so we're happy that the site is seeing a lot of crazy activity, like almost 3 or 4 times the traffic in a couple of days than we saw last month, right? So we're excited to jump in on this for Buy Black Weekend. All right, so a couple other points for updates. Don't forget that you can get your PPE, personal protective equipment, from COAC member Z Promotions. And Zulene, if you had anything that you wanted to say specifically about that. I do want to say that there is a new grant, and I will talk about this in a couple of slides, from the City of Columbus that will reimburse you for your PPE costs. So if that has been a concern, they'll reimburse you up to $5,000, and then you can also shop through a member. So that's pretty cool. Her contact information is right there. And also, we have been talking over the past couple of meetings about paid interns for COAC members. So today on the call, we have Monica Brodnax from Eckerd Connects, Ohio. And they are looking for employers to host interns this summer. Monica, is there anything that you would like to say specifically to the group?
Hi, everybody. Nothing much more than what you have up here. I am Monica Brodnax, and I work for a company called Eckerd Connects. We're located on Jefferson Avenue, where all the nonprofits are. And I am responsible for building relationships with the community in order to help our youth get on a career path. So we work with youth 16 to 24. Some of them, they may have graduated from high school. The program is for out of school youth. So some of them may have dropped out of high school. Some of them might be in recovery schools, but just looking to find their way in employment. If you have any questions, please email me. Each person that I work with has identified a career path. So whatever it is, I try to go out and make it happen for them. And one day I thought of you. I thought, well, wouldn't that be a great relationship to have? And of course, most of our kids are African American. Pretty much, you know, and to just put this out there, we work with a lot of great kids that just need, and they're not kids, some people are parenting, just need some direction.
Sweet.
So thanks for having me.
Thank you for reaching out to us. As I mentioned on the phone, the timing was kind of perfect because our members have expressed the desire to have interns. And we see it as both, you know, helping on the business side, but also our give back, you know, helping to guide the youth how we can. And if I think that we don't spend enough time talking about entrepreneurship as a viable, you know, after school plan, but I think it'd be cool to be immersed in that space. It says up to 160 hours. Is there like a time frame that you're going from, like June to August, or?
Well, no, it's a year-round program, so you can jump in at any time, and that youth has 160 hours to expel for that period of time. And hopefully at the end of that, you offer them a job.
Dope. Okay, cool. I see. Does anybody have any questions for Monica while we have her? Her information is here. And for members, you got the information yesterday, or this morning, actually, sorry. But then also we'll make sure that everybody who's registered gets her contact information directly in the summation.
Yes, Scott, I see two questions.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
One is, are we recruiting for summer? So it's not a summer program, it's a year-round program, and you can call me and I can put you in touch with, yes, we're recruiting. So there are specific, blah, blah, blah. There are specific things that are criteria that the youth must meet in order to qualify for the program. And then what was the other question? Yes, we have virtual interns. We have an intern working virtually with HER along with Buffy Patterson.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we definitely are open to options like that. And that's a great way, you know, it looks like we're headed in that direction. So we'd like to get our youth involved in that area too.
Monica, can you tell us what the specific criteria is for the youth? This is Danya Lewis.
Hi, Danya Lewis. I can, but I can't at this very moment. But if you shoot me an email, I'll be glad to. Actually, I sent the flyer over to Avery.
Okay.
But anyway, just email me, and then you can share it with anybody that you think it might be helpful for.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Yes, thank you. Any other questions?
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. And I hope that you get some good feedback and replies from our members.
Me too. I'm going to hang out for the rest of the time. So if anybody thinks of anything, go ahead and shoot me a question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I just wanted to let people know, if you didn't already know, remind you that Orange Barrel Media is giving away free ad space on their digital billboards and things that they have, like in the Short North and in different areas. And this can be for for-profit businesses as well as community organizations and nonprofits. Corey Faber, he's the Director of Community Engagement and Strategic Partnerships. He said that he hasn't gotten quite the mix of businesses that he would like. So he would love he wanted us to share the word again and let people know that you can get this. This is still ongoing. They started it in March in response to COVID. But this is really cool, like free ad space, especially as people are getting back out and about and walking, and you can see them as you're driving down the street. One cool thing that I saw from Orange Barrel is that they, I think it was during the protests that were downtown, they did like some shout outs and hashtags about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, you know, and we're very supportive of what was going on. So yeah, you can reach Corey. His number is here, as well as his email. But you can also, though, just directly send your request to this OBM supports local at orangebarrelmedia.com with a brief description of your business and the ways customers can like buy from you or support you during this time. They haven't said when they're going to end it, so I say go for it, but make sure you get your business up there. I hadn't even thought of it until I just said it, but we probably will look at doing it for COAC. But I wanted to make sure that we shared it with you all today. This is something that I know that people are very interested in. This literally just went live today. I'll make sure you have the link because for whatever reason, I cannot pull up the chat right now. But the City of Columbus just launched recovery grants and loans for small businesses. And so it just literally went live at 5 o'clock. So what it is they have these grants up to $10,000 for small businesses in low to moderate income areas of the city, and for low to moderate income business owners that are in Franklin County, but not in Columbus city limits. The whole thing is like working capital, some dollars to help you keep your staff on board. And it is a grant. You do have to but you have to provide some documentation. So like there's different, you have to do a year of business taxes, a year of personal taxes. You have to complete the application. And so right now on this link, and I will get it and drop it into the chat so that we can share it with you right now so that you'll have it today. But also we'll make sure to shoot out an email. But if you, you should apply if you fit into this area. On the link, the page will actually show you, there's a map where you can search your zip code and you can search your, and you can make sure that you're in the area. You can also see the other eligibility requirements that are a part of this. Additionally, as I mentioned a second ago, there are grants up to $5,000 and it's in form of reimbursement for PPE. And they'll do it actually is a 1-to-1 match grant. So they'll match for every dollar spent up to $5,000, the city will match you as a reimbursement. And so that can be both for PPE, but also maybe other like barriers or kind of equipment that you need to put into your workplace to make it a safe environment for your customers and for your employees, I'm sorry. So that's up to $5,000. Both of those things went live today at 5. In the application, it'll say, are you working with an entrepreneurial support organization? If you go and apply for this, say yes, and put down Columbus Urban League. So what that does is it matches you with my office, my daytime office at the Columbus Urban League, where we can help you work through the grant application. And so they've given us some training so we can help hopefully expedite this thing. They'll be taking grants on a rolling basis, the applications for grants and loans on a rolling basis, with the first dollar should be dispersed within 2 weeks. The loan program is loans up to $20,000, and they're partnering with ECDI to facilitate this. The loan program has not opened up the same, but you can indicate on the application that you're interested in it. It is a low interest loan. I can't tell you the terms or the like the interest rate and all that kind of stuff. That information hasn't been shared with me as of yet, but it all will be available on that link. So it's a pretty cool opportunity. This is the city and the county helping out to try to get some dollars into businesses who have been affected and maybe not able to access other dollars. So yeah, just wanted to make sure I plugged that, and I can take questions about that at the end if there are any, and you can also put them in the chat and we'll make sure we get to them. Okay, so I know that people are definitely wondering about the fundraiser we're doing. We launched it last Monday on June the 2nd. And we're raising dollars for businesses, Black-owned businesses in downtown that were specifically impacted by the demonstrations. We know that some businesses had their windows broken out, had items stolen, like Burger M had windows busted, as well as their drinks stolen from the bar. Soul Classics, windows broken. They took shoes and clothes. Evolve Style Company, same thing, but just all of their stuff was damaged, as well as their hair equipment was taken. Same with Supreme Cuts. And then another one that we're aware of is Kitty, just jumped on my head, Kitty Academy, I want to say. It's a daycare. And so we know that there's 6 total that we've been made aware of, and we're trying to still see if there are any others. But since we started this, we've raised about over $11,000 in 8 days, and we're still collecting these funds. And the whole idea really is to help cover and offset costs associated with, maybe there were things that the insurance won't cover. Maybe the deductible is kind of high. The idea is just to get some flex cash into the hands of these businesses. We started dispersing money this week. And the idea is that we'll do it as equitably as possible. Like, and some folks might not get anything because they're doing their own fundraisers and they're hitting their goal. We are in conversations with these businesses, like for instance, Soul Classics. We've chatted with their ownership, and through their fundraiser, they've raised more than enough to repair things that wouldn't be covered by their insurance, but they're also dispersing money. And so we've shared back and forth the names of the businesses we're aware of, and they're going to be cutting checks to 3 of them. Instead of giving dollars to Soul Classics, we would take that portion and divvy it to someone else. I'm still working to contact a couple of the business owners. I sent out more messages today, and I'm trying to, through our network, touch these businesses. But I wanted to just put a blurb from one of the people we gave dollars to on the screen, just so that you know that your dollars are helping and they're making a difference. We will make sure that we send thanks to everyone, but we're not going to do a huge roll call about like people who are kicking in on this. That's not what this is about. This is about the businesses that were impacted. The pat on the back is the pat on your heart. It's good karma. So just like, thank you for the dollars that you've submitted so far. And we're still, like I said, we're still fundraising. And then the dollars that we raise beyond the need is we're looking at what to do with that, because there are businesses, just like with the city and county, there are businesses that have been impacted by COVID, by just, Black owned business stuff, that may not have had access to dollars in some of these programs that have been coming about. And so we're looking at other ways that we can be supportive. And we've even had some folks reach out to talk about larger fundraisers that we might do to seed a fund to give to Black businesses. And so I will have more information to provide for you at the next membership meeting, but I wanted to just, provide an update and let people know that, we're doing this thing. We are making a difference to folks. These are your peers. These are my peers. These are people who are very supportive of the community. And this is actually like just the right time to go to the next part, is what the crap is going on, right? Because we all know that we all have known about police brutality. We've known about the difference in how we are perceived and received, I guess, by the community. And so like with all the businesses that I've spoken to that were damaged downtown, there was definitely upset about the damage and things being taken, but it pales in comparison to the upset and the unsettlingness of police brutality, and that we're still having to have these conversations, and people are being killed. So this part is kind of about processing. I mean, I want us all to take a breath if we can. I know that it's been a very, very trying 10, 11, 12 days. And so these are just some song quotes. Some that I've heard, just people blasting on their cars, riding down the street, some that just popped into mind as we're watching all of this unfold. And I wanted to open it and kind of let's have a little dialogue about it. If there's anything that you want to talk about, and I know a lot of it is the same that we've probably heard and we've been saying to each other candidly in personal conversations. But I wanted to start with my mom. And yeah, let's start this conversation.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody that kicked in to help businesses impacted. And I will give you a little backstory on that. And I think I've shared this with our board. But on Saturday, when downtown was closed, I got this alert that says downtown is closed, there's a curfew, the roof is on fire. And I felt like a lot of people. I felt helpless, I felt angry, I felt all kind of things, and just didn't quite know what we were going to do or how to do or where we stepped in. And then on Sunday morning, I got a call from Avery, and I thought something had gone wrong because Avery never calls me. And she had been talking that morning with Christy Angel from the YW, and Christy raised the question, what are you all going to do about the downtown businesses? And so there it was born, something that we could do. And it was something that is in our lane. It is something that we're supposed to do. We are expected to take care of each other. So that has been really heartening for me. The other thing that Avery and I have talked about is that while all of a sudden Black Lives Matter, they have always mattered to us, but we have to remember what we knew 11 days ago or 14 days ago. We have to remember what our parents told us. And that is that we still have to perform. We still have to be our best. We still have to bring excellence, because with all the people that want to do business with us now, and we're getting tons of traction, and that is so amazing. But we don't want those partnerships to be one-offs. We want them to continue doing business with us. And we know that that may not be the expectation of everybody reaching out. We know that all of us have I got an email from somebody who offered me free services, and she didn't mean it in a way, she didn't mean it in any kind of way, but sometimes the help will come wrapped in that old wrapping that somehow Black means deficient. And so we have some teachable moments. And I'll be real honest with you, I am a little bit over the teaching, but we still have to do it. I am a little bit over carrying water for people who are trying to help me, who've been kicking that bucket out of my hand for 400 years, but we still have to do it in the way that we can. So I'm excited about where we are, but I know that like you, we're also a little bit weary and we're a little bit tired. And I think we have to be ready for whatever the opportunities are that are presented. We have to be ready. We have to be excellent, and we have to be what we were 14 days ago before all of this started. I don't know if I said what you wanted me to say, Avery, but.
That was really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one thing, I'll even be candid, and then Marcus will come to you. I know that I personally have been struggling with how to articulate all of this. This is a lot, right? But I keep getting the call to do it. Can you explain to these allies how they need to do this? Or can you explain to those allies what they should be doing? And sometimes it feels like, because there's so many things going on, it feels hard to organize my thoughts, because there's so many things I would like to say to you when you ask me those kind of questions. And so I know I'm not the only one. And so that's why we wanted to make sure that we held space for this kind of dialogue. And then the next thing we'll talk about after we, if anyone else has to share, Marcus, you're next, will be about what's the plan? How do you take advantage of this environment? Take advantage of it. How do you take advantage of it? How do you what's the business case here? Marcus?
Yeah, Avery, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add to a little bit of what you just said about, to me, the importance of turning, activism into action. As some people on the call, I know Otto and maybe some others are aware of, some of the things my father did around activism at the university and the community at large. But I think the importance is of what's going on is as far as I think whatever role we can play is to begin to shape the narrative around shaping public policy as a result of, you know, what has happened. And I think one of the main things that we need to be really focused on is trying to ensure that if we're going to use elected officials as an example, make sure that, you know, there's policy that is put in place to benefit minority businesses, to change some of the procedural protocols for the Division of Police. I'll actually be on the program coming up on June 16th that Byron Potts has organized to deal with racism, police brutality. And I'm going to, you know, particularly share some of my insights on, as a former prosecutor at the city attorney's office and a criminal defense attorney, about some of the things I think need to happen within the Division of Police. But as it relates to our role as far as Black business owners and entrepreneurship, I think that's one of the things that a main role we need to play in terms of what's next. You know, the mayor has put out an executive order. How do we put the meat on the bone with that in terms of dollars that are going to go to Black businesses? Okay, you know, what's next in terms of the city attorney's office, in terms of outsourcing work that's for selfish reasons, okay, through the city attorney's office. Okay, those are the kind of things I think we need to be pushing and using this as an opportunity to do that. Former Mayor Michael Coleman was just on the air this past week, because they come on 95.5 every week. Stephanie Hightower and Shannon Hart and all our elected officials talking about that. But I think that's how we can begin to really turn this into something structural from a policy standpoint. You know, I'm all for what we've been doing to date as a community and galvanizing and mobilizing, but I think those are the next steps that we need to be really focused on. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I agree 100 million %. I think this, and that's kind of leading us into what I want to talk about is, you know, for us, we have to be able to do multiple things at once, right? So we have to be able to talk emergency immediate needs. We have to be able to talk about the more shorter term, but we need to be looking at these policies and how they affect us. And that he had no idea when he did it, that executive order was crazy well timed. This was a weird coincidence. And so now, though, that it's happened, we have to make sure that we hold them accountable, because yes, there's a lot of energy and he's getting a lot of pushing about the police, the FOP and the police contract. There's one that's expiring on the 15th of this month. And then there's another that expires at the end of the year. And we have to look at, of course, the negotiations for that are important, but I haven't, and I know we all haven't forgotten that executive order is in place, that diversity and inclusion is supposed to be implementing these things. But it was so bare bones that there is going to be some time, and thankfully so, for some input, because this program can't just be born overnight. And so what I would ask of each and every one of you as industry experts in your field, please share with us your perspective on it. So Marcus, that's important information about the prosecutor's office. We also need to know about, like I saw Sandra Moody Gresham send out an email about insurance. But there are plenty of lines of attack here. And we need to be making sure that our voices are heard in this. And so you can send it to us, but also if you need to know who you should be reaching out to or who you need to be pointing at and talking to, it's obviously the city's Office of Diversity and Inclusion, as they're helping to shape this, but it's also city council, it's the mayor, and also you need to let us know too, like what's been your past experience? We know the data from the disparity study, but I need anecdotal information so that we can be sharing this with everyone. And then, thank you, Sherry. But we need to keep the pressure on. I don't want anyone to think that we can't chew gum and walk at the same time, because we can do that. We can do policy and we can do action all at once. And so, yes, we need to keep on that. Anyone else had something they wanted to talk about? Or, we'll keep into it. But please just raise your hand or just take yourself off mute and interrupt me. And so this is kind of going off of what Marcus was talking about. So yes, it's policy, but at the same time, while these policies and these initiatives are being formalized and they're getting cemented, and it's not just about the city. Let me pause that, because I had this interview this morning, and the idea about corporations came up. So yes, it's, public sector has a lot to do with this, but also we have a lot of people saying that Black Lives Matter, but do our lives matter as all holistically? So when we're thinking about corporations, yes, you can tweet and you could post something, but what is your HR policy looking like? What substantive changes have you made internally to make sure that it's a healthy, safe place for your employees? But pushing that a step further, who are you buying from? Where is your money being spent? Are you supporting Black businesses? And because we are just the same with the city and the disparity study, we make up a sizable chunk of the business community. How is the money being spent? Does it track? If you follow us on social media, we did a post this week about on Facebook. There's something called a 15% pledge, where it's a pledge to major retailers. It's a petition that you can sign to encourage them to dedicate 15% of their shelf space to Black-owned businesses and Black products, because we represent 15% of the population. And so if you think about Target, and even locally or statewide, like a Kroger or many others, we can make something easy, right? But how much of the shelf space do we occupy? And so hopefully we'll get some people who say, oh yeah, we spend X percent with not diverse businesses, with Black businesses. That is the question. So that is part of this moving forward. And so when we're looking at these initiatives that are coming into place, we want to make sure that you're ready to perform. And that many of us already are, but just get your ducks in a row. COVID also helped with that. You had downtime. That was probably not the best, yes, but you got to take advantage of these things, right, people? Our activity slowed down. So how are you preparing yourself for whatever the next wave is going to be? So I want to point out a couple things, and I'm sure there's going to be things that I haven't mentioned here. So please speak them. This is a conversation. But the first thing I want people to do is solidify the relationships that are needed. Solidify the relationships that are needed to facilitate the growth and to grow your capacity, right? So you're thinking about, make sure that your supply chain is intact. That could be actual goods and widgets, but that's also workforce, that's subcontractors, that's being able to build a team so that you can go after larger contracts and as they come up, right? That's also thinking about, and we have two women on the call today that we're gonna have chat about this, but thinking about solidifying sources of capital, thinking about one big thing that we kept seeing through COVID is that if you didn't have a strong banking relationship, you might have missed the boat on some financing that could have helped your business. You are probably still missing the boat if you haven't made a concerted effort to get to know someone in your branch at your bank. But you need to have flex cash. Thinking about larger contracts, thinking about governments and how corporations buy, the payment terms are longer. That is part of the thing we need to get at on the policy side, right? We need to shorten those windows, but in the meantime, do you have the capital that you need to do business and to perform? And so I kind of want to pause just for a second, because I have Alicia Wyatt and I have Crystal Causey here. We'll start with Alicia, but we asked them to think about, and kind of from their perspective, from the banking world, talking about what does that positive banking relationship look like? Alicia?
All right, I just want to make sure you can see and hear me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to touch on just one thing, well, a couple of things, Avery, that you mentioned. I think when we think about everything that is happening, a lot of us might think that it might be a little bit bigger than us. Even if we said, oh, we wanted to go protest, but there might be fear associated with that for, you know, personal reasons, or fear from the organizations that we might work for. So, for example, I work for KeyBank, and one of the things that we consider is, if I go out there and something happens, what would that representation be like with me being there? And does that, you know, how does that look for KeyBank? Okay. So if we keep that separate in the sense that outside of where we work, we have personal lives, and in that way, how do we make sure we keep them away from each other, but still participate in the things that are important to us? So to keep something separate, you can go and do the protests or participate in different things that might be affecting you or things that you're passionate about, but keeping them away from each other by not wearing KeyBank logoed items, right? Or going out there and speaking your mind, but not everyone has to know that necessarily if I'm there, that means that I'm in any sort of capacity representing KeyBank at that time, but I'm there for my personal views and how this is impacting me personally. So it might seem huge, sometimes too big for us, but even within my little group, I'm the president of the African Heritage Campaign for the Columbus market at KeyBank. And today I took the time to make sure that I reached out to all the African Americans within the Columbus market and simply asked them just how they're doing at this current time. Is there anything that they want to share, anything that they need to just speak about, to let them know that they have somebody that they can reach out to and talk to about it, because their branch might not look similar to them, right? The people that they're working with might be different, and they might be scared of having those conversations, but that they know that they're not alone. And bigger than me, I know KeyBank is having national conversations around this topic, but to let them know that it's, you know, they're basically just not alone. So I just wanted to point out those are the things that even within your corporation, within your business, you can still do things if you're hesitant about how it might impact your business, but also within the bigger scope of things, you can do things individually or a little bit at a time to help to have an impact, even on just one person. So with that said, Avery and I think we've been going back and forth with a lot of emails with information about banking. She's referred a few people over to me, and I've been able to share some information with her about what KeyBank can do and how we can help your business through these times. The one thing that I've seen and noticed a lot is this has been affecting a lot of people. And right as soon as we got the okay to start opening and revitalizing the economy again, we got paused from the protests, right? Rightfully so at this time. But then business owners were back into similar situations where they weren't making as much money as they would have pre-COVID, pre-protest, right? But they also had to be thinking about their employees again and how do I pay my employees? How do I pay my own bills? So I've seen a lot of impact that this had on our businesses, and KeyBank has tried in many ways to present information, and myself personally, I've done what I would hope is a good job of sending the information out whenever I get it, to make sure that people that I know and I know that are being impacted can have the knowledge that they need. So when I think about a relationship and the importance of a banking relationship, it is not just, hey, let me sell you a checking account, or hey, here is a savings account. It is, we have products and services that we can use to help your business through this time. How are you getting from point A, start of COVID, to point B, end of COVID? Do you have any type of funds that is set aside that could get your business through this time? What does your savings account look like? What does do you have a line of credit that is available that you could utilize at this time to just help you to get through this difficult period. And beyond that, you mentioned, Avery, the ability for you to have access to different funding possibilities. And the one big one that's happened a lot lately is the PPP. And what I've tried to do is throughout the whole process from first round to second round to where we are right now, which is still a chunk of money that is available and nobody is, like, it's not being used as fast as they thought it would go. And how does KeyBank play a role in that to make sure that people know that that is still available? And what we've decided is now that the people that applied with us initially, first and second round, before we had cut it off, how can they still get access to funds? And KeyBank, as of today, we got an email that we've reopened the PPP application. So we can now start taking those applications again. And the big thing that I've heard, even Avery, some of the people that you referred over to me, is that they did not know that if they had 1099 employees that they could apply. And absolutely, positively, you can apply. The same principles are there. In fact, they've actually extended it. It's now a 24-week period for you to use the funds versus 8 weeks than it was before. Instead of it being 75% of it has to go to payroll, it's now 60% of it that has to go to payroll. So the SBA is realizing that the needs are different and they are adjusting to what the businesses and small business owners are telling them that the problems are, and they're making the changes where that's concerned. So we've opened that up, and now my whole goal now is to start letting people know that it's back open. But it's only going to be open until June 30th because that's the last day that the SBA is going to let us take additional applications. And hopefully the applications that I take, they will be approved by then. I still have my original emails that I was sending out. Avery probably still has like a chain of those of what documents are needed, any updates that I got throughout the process, including if you're 1099 and you don't have the traditional forms that they were requesting. You know, statements are available. Your bank statements are able for you to use to prove that you basically pay yourself. So we take the non-traditional stuff as well for you to get the funding. So please maximize and reach out to me if you have any questions about that. And I'll definitely send Avery an email about it so she'll be able to pass that along. So other than the new information that comes out, solutions that we can provide, you will have somebody that is step-by-step, side-by-side with you through your business growth and to the point where you say, okay, I'm ready to retire. What's next? How do I sell my business? Who do I sell it to? And do I want to sell it, or am I going to pass this on to my daughter or my son? Like, is this going to be a family business? Is that how I want it to be? We have resources and tools for all of those. I don't do any of the banking alone. In my branch alone, I have 3 financial wellness consultants, and with them, I'm actually hiring another person on. So together, we work with partners in small business, mortgages, the SBA department, and even with the KMS department, we work with all these different areas to get your business to the right solutions. When we think of our small business, it's not just, hey, let me provide you with like just payment solutions, but we think of your employees as well. When I say your employees, I think of if my employee is there with me, they can be at work and be so consumed by things that are going on at home that they might as well not be at work. If that employee is there and they're so diverted from what I'm trying to get them to do, which is to help to build our business and get us to get revenue in so we can pay them, how do I help them to refocus? And their distraction might also be tied to their financial situation, the things that they have going on at home. And how do we get them to get out of that rut, right? So when I think of your business, I'm thinking of making sure that your employees are also in place that will help your business to grow. If they're spending that much time not focusing on your work to help you to build, then what can KeyBank do to help you with that? So with our Key at Work program, we offer you things like on-site training and financial literacy for your employees. And I mean for free. So my paycheck that I receive from Key Bank includes coming to your business to educate your employees about how they can be financially literate, how they can understand what their credit score is, how they can understand if it's time for them to buy their first home, how they can understand about the importance of saving. And that all of that we can present, and right now in our current environment, we can absolutely present those through webinars like this. So it's not just one-sided, right? It's not just about the business owner, because your business is nowhere if your employees are also suffering. But to also think about it from the point of, yes, there is a separation of business credit and personal credit, but you cannot grow your business credit if your personal credit is poor. So how do I help you to understand the importance of what your credit score means, what credit utilization looks like, what history looks like, and taking a look at all of that information to help you to grow and get to the right place. I've seen a lot of times where African Americans, or not even just us, right? Like people in general, we're paying for these institutions out there who promise us to increase our credit report and do these solutions for us. And yes, there are actually legitimate ones out there that will do it and do it for you the right way. But some of us simply can't afford to have that money to set aside to do it. And if you can, that's another piece where your banker comes in, because I've spent hours at my desk with my computer facing my business owner or my customer, and I say to them, we're going to pull your 3 credit bureaus right now, take a look at everything that is reported on there positively and negatively and what we can improve, and we're going to have our own 3 to 6 month plan to get your score up. You don't have to pay me a dime for that. But as your personal banker, I'm here to get you to where you need to be, so that if you said, Alicia, I want to get a loan for this house that I finally want to purchase, or a vacation home that I want to get to, or I need this business loan in order for me to build my business or grow it, you can get to that without a decline, right? So it's important for me, and when I speak of this, I do have a passion around it, because I'm from Jamaica, and in Jamaica, a lot of us have this mentality like banks aren't good, traditional banking is not okay. There's this thing called partner, where everybody puts money into like a savings kind of program, and every week or every month somebody gets a drawer from that, and that's their savings, right? But there's so much risk involved with that, where what if somebody just decides after they get their drawer, they don't want to put any more money in that little pool, you know? So there is a lot of distrust with financial institutions. And from me, it's really personal, because I know when I think about it holistically. And that is 100% the place where KeyBank is coming from. So like I said, I'll pass out the information for the PPP. Even if you think you don't qualify, it doesn't hurt to have a conversation about whether you do. And I'm here to say yay or nay. And I'm happy to provide any guidance whatsoever. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Could you put your information in the chat? I'll definitely share it with the summation tomorrow, but so that way people have it right away.
Will do.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Causey?
Wow, it's hard to add to that, but that is exactly what's going on. And one of the things that I want to just, well, first of all, I'm Crystal Causey, and I work for Chase Bank, and I deal with government and not-for-profit customers. So just like the small business, our non-for-profit customers have been affected as well, right? When you talk about churches and other nonprofit organizations, they've been hit too, because their donations have gone down. But I also have experience just in small businesses in general. And so one of the things is really being in the business for 20 plus years, you really have to establish a banking relationship with your local bank or your local business banking, because they really are going to provide you with what's going on. And just like Alicia said, there are things that folks don't know about, you know, different things like 90-day deferrals that, as an example, Chase offered to some of their business customers for 90 days. We're thinking about maybe extending that to another 90 days. Loan modifications out there if you need to reduce your monthly payment. So really just getting that information, because right, knowledge is power, and you don't know what you don't know. And so building that relationship with your banker, having that confidence to say, hey, I don't want to necessarily mistrust all banks, because banks have not been fair to us, from employment to, you know, that's why there were, you know, the Community Reinvestment Act established and all these things, because we know that in the past they want to take our money necessarily, but they don't want to reinvest back in our community. So I think it's important that we put the pressure on them, and now is the time. It really is. And so when I sit back and look at the multiple emails that I've been receiving just from our executive leadership, you know, my question has always been, yeah, you feel how I feel, or you think you feel how I feel, but what are you doing? Because to me, action means more than anything else. So to give $2 million or $2 billion to a community, that's important to me. I want to know that. Are you having, you know, make our managers and make our executive leadership have those hard conversations about what's going on. Because as a Black employee, I do feel a certain kind of way. I'm filled with emotion, just like everybody else is. And so, but, you know, I think it's time for us to not just settle for what we, you know, what we settled for 10 years ago. It's to put the pressure on that banker and to make that banker accountable to, why can't you, you know, afford me the same credit opportunities that you afforded, you know, a small business down the street. So, you know, as Alicia said, I just think it's time to, you know, continue to build those strong relationships. And if you need a local banker or where you're located, you know, I'll put my contact information in the chat as well. Reach out to me and I'll get you a banker that can really help work with you. Because, you know, one thing about Chase is they are, you know, I've only been there about 6 months, but so far so good. I like what I see. This is probably the first financial institution that I've worked with in my 20-year career that I feel good about going to work every day. I feel good about what they do for us and what they do for our customers. So, you know, everything that Alicia said is absolutely right on point. So, you know, like I said, the biggest thing is just keeping that bank relationship open with your local banker.
Thank you so much to both of you. Like, I think it's always important to have the perspective on the other side of the table. We're always curious as to how we get the access, but it's definitely curious on hear what the other side is saying. Advancing pathways. Crystal, Otto says that Advancing Black Pathways at Chase is a great program.
Yep. Yes, it is a great program. I've just been reading about it probably within the last couple of weeks. That came out actually way before all of this, you know, all of this began to unfold. And so they're really focusing on that as well. And I can get some information to you about that when I get back to work. So I'll put that out there as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions from the group for our in-house bankers? I do have a question. I don't know for either of you or or Darius. When we're looking at the PPP, the shift to 60% being for payroll, do they let you put in other dollars, or is it still based on a 2.5 times the monthly payroll? Sorry, hopefully that's not a trick question.
Oh, no, it's not.
It should always be. It should always. Yeah, it should always be. Yeah.
It's the same
Go ahead,
amount.
Alicia. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the same amount, 2.5 times your monthly average for the year.
Okay. I know that when people were looking at the loan program before they were applying, they're like, oh, cool, I can use some of it on utilities and rent. But then they get into the application and none of those figures were requested of you. And then so some folks were feeling disheartened because their dollar amount was lower. Darius, can you explain what you mean?
Generally, the program is based on 2.5 months for the PPP. But if you have an entity that has pass-through income, you're eligible to include that in the calculation, but it's still factored at a rate of 2.5 months, and it's not just the payroll cost.
Yeah.
So
And
for
to add to
example,
that, you have,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, just really whatever you put down there as a number, your monthly as well as your 2.5, just make sure, I know from where I sit, make sure you have proper documentation, because in our process, we verify up front. So whatever you put on your application, we verify that with your documentation that you send us before we pass it on to the SBA. So just make sure you have, whether it's a 940 or your 2019, just make sure you have the documentation to support the numbers that you put down there.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you all. So pivoting a little bit, or not pivoting, but going back to the idea of planning for the next steps, right? So when we're thinking of what is our quote unquote hit list, or what structures that we want to be looking at and addressing as a business community, I'd like you all to please let me know, as I said before, but if there's any that you want to share now, and also this might be a time to pause the recording, but I really want to kind of make sure that we are working for what you want as membership. So obviously we are thinking about the city of Columbus, because we were already thinking about the city, looking at the disparity study and making sure that, that we start getting some equity in the contracting practices. But then also thinking about what corporations should we be looking at. I know that as a pseudo corporation that's a nonprofit, we are looking at Ohio State. For something that has such a large footprint in the city of Columbus, how well are they interacting with the business community, the small business, or just the African-American business community? So are there any others that people wanted to share? And then is there something, when you're thinking about what COAC is doing, what do you want to see us do? Because we are a collective. This is a business association, and yes, I speak for us, but it's not just my brain power that is pushing this ship. So whether it's sharing it now, raising your hand, coming off mute, somebody say something, or it's just shooting me an email. You all have my contact information. But how can we best serve our business community moving forward, right? So the list is obviously something. And then I know I need to talk to Sherry Hamilton like yesterday, so we can get to work and finish up Go All Black, because I think that that is going to have more of the, people are looking right now. People are really interested. But they're looking for Black-owned businesses, but we're trying to make sure that it's not just a one-off spend. And so when I was asked about like, how can people support the Black business community on Good Day Columbus this weekend, I made sure to say, well, first of all, we're not just restaurants, right? We do have great restaurants. I won't even say that we don't, but we're more than just restaurants. We're more than just barbershops and beauty salons. We have business professionals. We have all sorts of businesses, but it's not just one purchase. If you're truly trying to be supportive of the community, you're going to be spending dollars with us in an ongoing kind of basis. We definitely want to make sure that when people come onto our list, whether it's on coac.org or Go All Black, they find what they're looking for. And if it's not on ours, it's directing them and pointing them to places like Huku, Sherry Hamilton's new app, Huku, HUKUAPP.com. And Sherry, if you could put that in the chat so people could go check it out. And then also we know that there are all these energies on Facebook, all these Facebook groups. And I know that every time I look at one of these Facebook groups, there are more businesses that I hadn't seen before and that are not on our list. So we want to make sure that we can kind of start getting at that fallacy that there aren't Black businesses that do this, right? We want to make sure that we are, and giving people options, because people have been, it kills me when people say, well, I tried to use a Black so-and-so and man, they were this horrible. Or I try to use a Black so-and-so and it was blah, blah, blah. Well, the business is still relationship based. Yes, you want to support, but you need to shop around. And so we want to make sure that we are providing the options for you to go and take a look at a variety of things. And so I want to open it. I want to hear from you all. Like, you all are here. What are your thoughts on on what some of our next steps should be. Don't all speak at once. Maybe you don't have anything to share. Maybe we're all in a reflection kind of space. That's important feedback too. Is that a rhetorical question?
No, so I'll share something, Avery. So when I have business meetings, sometimes, to your point, I do try to go to, like, I'll Google Black-owned businesses to see like restaurants and places that I can take my clients and try to have them close to different where my clients would be. But the list is small, and there's been times that I've looked, and on the list I've gone to the website and then it's actually non-operational. Either the restaurant is, the website itself is closed down, or the business is closed down. But I think an updated list with current businesses would be wonderful. And not just restaurants, but different things. Like if I'm going to go shopping, if I'm able to see even within, I don't know, is it possible to even see what Amazon has listed for African American businesses? Is there a way to even get that? So we can, when I'm searching, just go to them first, as opposed to going to try to find the first ones that pop up. I'll search. I wouldn't have a problem searching. I guess want to know that they're out there. And
yeah, I feel like that's one of the hardest things about curating the lists of the businesses is the manpower to check them. Because it makes sense when you go out of business, the first thought probably isn't, I got to make sure that COEC don't have me listed anymore, right? Sorry. But
right.
That's real. And so we try to touch people like once a year to see, and we are going to have to do another touch point sooner than we would have otherwise because of COVID. But that is a thing. But hopefully with more apps coming up, and then also with some additional feedback from the community, we're able to so if you see something that doesn't work, just shoot us a note. Just so that we can kind of help in a collective kind of way. There's and I haven't talked to him in a while, so actually I don't know what they're doing, but there is the Black Restaurant Association of Central Ohio, BRACO, BRACO, and I'll put their website in the chat, but it's bracoonline.com, I want to say. And they have a listing, a pretty long, diverse listing of Black and African businesses, restaurants. Sherry Hamilton put in the chat, WeBuyBlack.com is another great one. And they do, they are kind of like Amazon, where you can buy products online. Yeah, and so we need to, that's part of what we're trying to do, is consolidate some of these things. Anybody else have a thought? I mean, I know you all have thoughts, but anybody else have thoughts about this? And yeah, you can always shoot me an email. This is going to be an ongoing conversation. And so I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, and we don't have to linger on it too long. But I definitely want you to know that we're here for your business, and for all of our businesses, members or not. That's been one thing that we've been trying to determine to folks in the community, is that I want you to be a member, of course. We all want you to be members of the chamber, but we also want to just make sure that your business has what it needs to thrive. And then as you see fit, you come on board. So we have received, and I'm just going to shift gears back to the conversation that we're having, away from it a little bit. So the last thing I really wanted to say, and I know that this is always true, especially of everyone that is on, who I see is on, and who we engage with. I say on this slide, be prepared to perform, but we already are. We are qualified, we are capable of doing the contracts and getting the sales that we go after, but I really want us to be thinking about how we can expand our capacity, and thinking about how to stretch right now, and in some cases, how to pivot. so that we can, we can succeed like we know we can. Otto, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, say that, like many of you, I've been overwhelmed through this whole process. What more can I do? What more should I be doing? A lot of different things. And as a Black business owner, we always are community. Most of us are community minded, so we always want to help. Sometimes getting out of our lane, all kinds of things. And I remember when this organization started, one of the first meetings we had, one of the politicians got up there and said, the most important thing I can do for the community is being a good father to my 2 daughters or something like that. And I thought, that was a really powerful statement. And I think it also applies to your individual, businesses and the businesses of, your fellow African-American business owners. Because, in order to have a successful business, we have to be so all in. And a lot of times what we're doing, particularly in a town like Columbus, which is very job oriented, we don't get some of the glory. We don't get a lot of the recognition. But I will tell you that building a strong Black business that's viable and serving people and maybe employing people is so powerful. And do not underestimate that. Somebody walking down the street, somebody at your church, somebody in your family is looking up to you. So it's also very important around all of this chaos that we do whatever we can to help ourselves. When all this went down, I certainly, like everyone else, was overwhelmed, confused, all these different things going on. And I stepped back and thought about it. And I said, man, if my business goes down, not only do I affect my employees, but I also, because of the type of business that I have, I also affect 190 other businesses who would have to scramble to get that resource, particularly the businesses that receive their mail at my office. It would have been pretty tough if they would have showed up one day and all the doors were locked and nobody was collecting the mail. So I just want to say, again, as African Americans, we're very community oriented. We want to be helpful. Sometimes we have guilt that we're not out there doing enough. We have guilt that we may not be actually out on the streets like others. But what you're doing in your business is very, very important. And it's an important part of our community. So I just want to leave that as a little food for thought when people are thinking about, could I be doing more or what should I be doing? Think about making sure that your business is strong and thriving, because that is a contribution to the Black community.
Yeah, what you said, that was perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we all have our role to play in this. And I think oftentimes, I felt that guilt even this week. Like, should I be doing more? Should I be getting out there? How should I be showing my protest? Well, first of all, this is an act of protest, like, honestly, like all day, every day. And we're already kind of walking in that lane. But also, this is a pandemic. And I just wanted to say that part. I know we all know that, but we're not, like, especially the youth are not always thinking about that. And also, the police aren't always thinking about that, obviously, with the pepper spray and the force that they're using. But it doesn't help any of us this is me personally speaking, if I get out there and I'm in the midst of everything and you're thinking so much about the massiveness of what's going on, that we're not thinking about how there is this disease going around. And if I get out there and I go down and I get sick, think about all of the businesses that I myself can't help. And so I had to do some internal, reflection and think, okay, well, how do I contribute to this? And how do we play a part in this? And so I know that we all have had to do that. And so I want to definitely take what Otto says to heart. I know I do. But then think about using your power where you are, using the seat that you're in to be powerful, not literally seated, but if you're as an employer, as a service provider to the community, you are contributing as it is. And there are other ways that you can play a part. I really also want to make sure that we know that in being prepared to perform, we are making sure we're doing self-care. So make sure that you do what you need to do, because this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We will be at this for quite some time. So make sure that you're doing what you need to charge your own batteries. I know that a lot of times it feels hard every time you turn on the news, every time you're on social media, every time you just look out the window, there's something that you can be triggered by. So do what you have to do to recharge, because a lot of us are looking to each other and people are looking to us for leadership. And as a business owner, you are inherently a leader in the community, but just make sure that we're prepared to stand up and that we're doing what we can where we are.
Avery?
Yes.
So super quick, wanted to plug a session that we're putting together right now, which will be about business owners taking a breath and taking care of themselves and getting that balance. Paula Penn-Nabret is going to come on and we'll likely have a clinician come on and talk about that. It is so true what Otto said. When you're self-employed, when you own a business, you work a lot more than a W-2 person probably works. I mean, if you're not working at it, you are thinking about it. You are always in it. Add a pandemic, add protest, and it gets to be really big. And we don't want to lose sight of the engine that really runs your business, which is you. It is right now, it's bananas hard. Trying to figure out what that thing is that you are to do. And I will say that I offered to do security this weekend downtown for business owners, and I got nixed on that idea. But anyway, so we will get information to you about the session we're putting together on balance and self-care for business owners.
Yes, I nixed that idea just for reference, just, to follow up on what you were saying. No, don't go down there. But really, seriously, yeah. So I think that'll be a good conversation to have, and we can't reiterate it enough. And that's true in normal times. As business owners, we're running at 100 miles per hour, and sometimes running ourselves ragged. That we don't often think about self-care. You are the key man. That they have key man insurance for a reason, right? But you are the lead. And so if you go down, what happens around you? And so part of that is building in sustainable. That's part of growing as a business. You can't be owner operator forever, right? You need to make sure that the operations can continue and you grow the space that you can. Like Otto's auto shop, they have a virtual admins, right? And that could be a resource to how you grow your capacity, because you can't answer every phone call. You can't answer every question. Your website is not always going to do enough. But that too can slow you down. If you miss a phone call, that could have been money that you missed. And so you got to think about all of the ways that you can grow your business and yourself and your capacity so that you can be prepared for this moment, because it's here. The change is afoot. One way or another, the status quo has to shift, and it is shifting. And so are you going to be ready to take it when the ball comes your way? If it's not you, they're going to go to somebody else. So be ready to take it on. We received, I'm pretty sure that, that's the last slide I have in here. Because I want to know if we have updates from the floor, and also just we did receive from Vanessa Whiting, who was a speaker on our last call, an update from the Governor's Economic Advisory Board. And can we share that PowerPoint with the group instead of, So I would like to share it as part of our follow-up email tomorrow. And they're looking for feedback on what they're presenting. And this is, Jill, can you give some details on what that is, what she's looking for?
So as you know, the advisory council has been meeting, and the meeting yesterday, there was some attention paid to all that is going on right now. And one of the members put together a presentation and offered some recommendations that he wants the advisory group to look at. And so Vanessa reached out to me and sent the deck and asked if I could share it with our membership. They really want to get input. So what I committed to do for Vanessa was to have you guys look at it, have our membership look at it, and pick out what you think are viable, what you want to see. I'll warn you, it's very Cleveland focused, but that doesn't mean that those recommendations can't be replicated in other parts of the state. So in tomorrow's email, Avery will just send it to you, because they're probably, I feel like there are 25 recommendations, so not enough time to go through those tonight. But I do hope you'll look at it and give it some thought, and then get back to us on what you would like to see that advisory group move on or act on.
Cool, thank you. Yep, I'll share that tomorrow. So updates from the floor. Anything that from the group, anything you'd like to share with the who's here and who will be watching after the fact? Should have had some like some Jeopardy music. Kina, would you be able to share a little bit of information about the survey that you and Deanna are sharing?
Happy to. Thank you, Avery. The survey that, can everybody hear me? Because I'm talking on my, can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic, thank you. The survey that Avery is referring to is called the Ohio Rise Survey, and it is a survey of Black business women in Ohio regarding the impact of COVID-19 on their businesses, on our businesses, I should say. Black women across America start businesses at a higher rate than any other demographic group. But we are also, unfortunately, not as well resourced, etc. And so we tend to move from business to business. And the statistics are telling us that African-American women are not receiving PPP, or not receiving EIDL, or not leveraging this opportunity for capital. And there's lots of reasons for that, and that's part of what the survey is all about. We are taking the survey is open to women across the state. We have formed an alliance called the Alliance of Black Business Women and Entrepreneurs Ohio. And it consists of a group of business women and entrepreneurs from Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus. We are inviting all business women to join us. It is free. The survey is for us, by us. We feel that our voices need to be heard as African-American women. We are mothers and sisters and daughters, and we play all those roles that women do. African-American women are unique. We also make up the largest group of single moms, but yet we do take on businesses and start businesses in order to support our families and our communities. So we think it's important that we lift that voice and that we do it in a way that's data informed. We are most appreciative of all of those who are out raising the flag for small business support, whether it be at the federal level, the state level, the local level. And we honor that, and we are not looking to replace that, but looking to amplify that and join in the advocacy of what we think is probably one of the first type organizations of its kind in its statewide scope and reach across Ohio. And we think it's particularly important at this time to do this because we see it as an opportunity. Many of us our part-time entrepreneurs, and in our positions. I personally work with Franklin County as a deputy county administrator, and I know from my job every day that there are millions and millions of dollars that are being divvied up at this particular point in time. And those who are advocating and who are taking an active role in advocacy are the ones who are going to get fed. They're the ones who are going to receive the resources needed in order to keep their businesses running. We think it's also, and this is the last point that I'll make, we think that the impact of the pandemic is going to be a long arc. And though many folks are, thinking it's over, we're back, we're this, we're that, in my conversations with economists, we are hearing that many of the impacts are not yet felt. And when they are, it's going to be tough on African Americans and women as well. And as African American women, then we get to double up on that pain sometimes. So that's what we're doing. I'm happy to, Avery, send you, I'll put the link in the chat, and then I'll also send you some further information, if that's okay, about the survey and about Abbey, Ohio.
Perfect, thank you. And I'll definitely share it with the group.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, you had something? Sorry, I muted you. I will unmute you. All right, or you have to unmute yourself, sorry.
No, it's just a shameless plug, Avery, for my website that you and Jill just put together for me. Thank you for doing that once again, ladies. For those of you who don't know, I'm an attorney. Marcus Ross is my name. I didn't announce myself during my comments earlier. I practice primarily in the criminal defense, OMBI, DUI area, and I have a new website, www.marcusrosslaw.com. If you know about anybody who gets a moving violation or their life is impacted by coming into a criminal charge or something that's alcohol related, that's what I do. And once again, thank you to Jill and Avery for putting the website together for me. And so it'll be on the COAC page again with my link going forward. So that's all I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Marcus. Any other announcements from the floor for the good of the order? Going once, going twice. All right, so I will send this information as promised in email to you tomorrow, bright and early with the link. Just so everybody knows, we have a YouTube channel, and if you go and you search COAC or African American Chamber on YouTube, our videos will come up from the membership meetings. It was just an easy way to share the information ongoing and also embed the videos onto our website. And so if anybody's looking to see what we've been chatting about recently at the past meetings, and you didn't have, if you hadn't received the link, you can see it there. And this video will also be posted there. And yeah, please feel free, please reach out to us with any thoughts, ideas, any way that we can be a resource to you or at businesses that you know. Again, we understand the time that we're in. So we know that sometimes the chamber membership can be a luxury item. And so I don't want that to keep or preclude anyone from joining because they just didn't have the working capital or the liquid capital rather to invest in chamber membership. We can chat about the benefits, but I mean, they're growing and they're definitely, you save more money over the course of the year than you pay us. So it's definitely worth investing in if you can. But if not, still reach out. There's still ways that we can help you and maybe get you in anyhow. but we don't want anyone to fear talking to us because they think that they couldn't because they're not a member. That's just not the case. If you know me, you know that's definitely not the case. So please, please, please reach out, visit the website, take a look at what we have to offer. It's coaacc.org, and we'll make sure that, well, you all are on this list, so you know our website. But if you're watching this, just please check us out. And, but yeah, thank you all so much for participating tonight. I will digest the chat and include it in the email. There's information about the survey that Kina mentioned is in the chat right now, as well as a link to the website about the Alliance of Black Businesswomen and Entrepreneurs of Ohio. Shout out, membership is free, so no excuse. Women, definitely go check it out. But yeah, thank you all so much for participating, and we will talk to you soon.